I'll be reading a book titled Jack and the Beanstalk by Phia Lee. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Jack who lived with his mother and a cow called Daisy on their small farm. They were very poor. All they had to live on was money they had from Daisy's milk. One day, Jack's mother said,
"Daisy is getting old now, and we don't have enough money to buy seed this year to plant a good crop."
She then burst into tears.
Don't cry, Mother,
said Jack.
I will sell Daisy. I will take her to the market tomorrow.
The next morning, Jack took Daisy out of the farm and walked down the long lane that leads to town. After a while, they stopped to rest. A little man was sitting in the middle of the road.
"Where are you going with that old cow?"
said the little man.
I am taking her to the market to sell her.
Replied Jack.
We need to raise money to run our farm,
he added. The funny little man stood up and held out a brown leather bag.
"Look, I'll trade your cow for this bag of beans.
He went on.
They are magic beans."
Jack's eyes widened. Jack looked at the bean bag for a long time.
Magic beans?
He asked.
"Indeed they truly are,"
said the man.
"They will bring you great wealth and good fortune."
The man smiled. Jack thought for a moment.
Okay, in that case,
Jack said finally,
it's a deal.
Jack and the little man shook hands. Jack raced back to the farmhouse where his mother was waiting.
"Did you sell Daisy?"
asked his mother.
"How much did you get for her?"
she added quickly. Jack proudly told her about the magic beans. Jack's mother cried,
"Oh, you silly boy! How could you swap Daisy for these useless beans?"
Jack felt awful. He ran upstairs and tossed the beans out of the window. Then Jack went straight to bed. The next day, when Jack awoke, the room was still dark. The daylight wasn't getting through his window. Jack jumped out of bed, quickly dressed himself, and rushed to the window. To his amazement, the beans that he threw out the night before had sprung up into a huge beanstalk. It reached all the way up into the sky. Jack ran outside and began to climb. Using the leaves and twisty vines like the rungs of a very large ladder, Jack climbed and climbed until he reached the sky. He looked down towards to the bottom of the beanstalk. His house was so far below that it looked like a tiny blue dot on the ground. I must have climbed for miles and miles, thought Jack as he reached the top where he saw a huge square castle floating through the clouds.
Wow, that looks amazing,
he said to himself as he scrambled onto the land surrounding the castle. Jack went over to take a closer look. The castle was magnificent. There were two vast wooden doors at the front. Jack walked slowly towards the building. As he drew near, a door swung wide open to reveal a gigantic woman who was as big as a mighty dinosaur. Jack tried to run away, but the large woman reached out and plucked him high into the air. Jack struggled furiously.
"Don't be in such a hurry, little boy. I'm sure a small boy like you will like a great big breakfast," said
the woman, smiling. She carried Jack into the kitchen and placed him down next to a sandwich that looked to be the size of a king's bed. Jack was not hungry. He explained why he had to swap Daisy and told her all about the magic beans.
"Oh, you poor little boy,"
said the woman.
"But you cannot stay here,"
she added.
"You are in real danger. My husband likes to eat little boys like you on toast for his breakfast."
At that moment, the whole castle began to tremble with the sound of something very big getting closer and closer.
Boom, boom, boom,
it went.
"Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread."
An angry giant appeared. Jack hid behind a huge teapot.
"Nonsense, dear,"
said his wife to the scary giant.
"We haven't seen little people in years. Now you have the snack, and by the time I get back, your breakfast will be ready for you."
He chomped the sandwich and gulped down the bath-sized tea. Then it went very quiet as the giants left the room. Jack peeked out from behind the teapot just as the giant returned to the kitchen, carrying a basket filled with golden eggs and a special hen. The giant poked the hen and growled,
"Lay!"
and the hen laid 2 eggs made of gold, which the giant added to the basket. He left the room again and returned with a golden harp with the face of a sad young girl. The giant poked the harp and growled, "Play!" and the harp began to play a gentle tune while her lovely face sang a lullaby. The giant eventually fell asleep and began to snore until the castle shook. Jack crept out from behind the teapot and began to tiptoe out of the kitchen. When he heard the harp, the girl whispered,
Please help.
Jack went off to find a backpack when suddenly he saw an enormous baby. The baby took one look at Jack and began to cry loudly.
"Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread."
The baby had made such a fuss that the giant was now wide awake.
Boom, boom, boom.
Jack heard the giant getting closer. Jack took the bag and ran through the door with the sound of the giant very close behind him.
Boom, boom, boom.
The whole island shook to the sound of his stomping feet. Jack ran as fast as he could. The giant, realizing he had been tricked, came rushing after him.
Boom,
Through the doors,
boom,
across the castle grounds,
boom.
by the Beanstalk. The giant was only inches away from him when Jack suddenly disappeared. Confused, the giant peered through the clouds and saw Jack below, climbing down for dear life. The giant stumped his foot and roared angrily.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
The giant grabbed the vines and lowered himself onto the beanstalk, which shook with his titanic weight. Jack scrambled down the beanstalk as quickly as he could, and the giant raced after him. As he neared the bottom, Jack called out,
Mother, please, hurry. Bring me the axe.
Jack's mother came rushing out with the wood-chomping axe in her hand. Then she waited at the bottom of the beanstalk. Jack jumped down onto the ground, got hold of the axe, and began to chop away at the beanstalk. It began to shake and quiver at the top where the giant stopped to see what was going on. Jack gave one last big chop with the axe, and the beanstalk began to topple over. The giant fell and rolled down into the river valley. He was never seen again. The Golden Harp Girl thanked Jack for rescuing her from the giant. She sang and played so beautifully every day that people and animals would come from miles around just to hear her wonderful melodies. The hen did not take long to settle down at the farm. After her rescue, she laid many golden eggs every day. Jack used the money from selling the golden eggs to buy back Daisy from the little man. Jack bought the seed they needed for the spring crop. He even had enough money left over to fix up his mother's farm. The magic seeds certainly brought him wealth and good fortune. Oh, and finally, they all lived happily ever after. The end.